Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to do here on this Tuesday. We've got a national champion in college baseball. We'll talk about it. Glen West here in 30 minutes talking Tigers. I got to talk about what Rafael Devers did last night. You probably aren't aware of that if you weren't paying attention to West Coast baseball. But I certainly saw it, and I want to mention it. We'll do that a little bit later on. We have reached Alabama in our series about 3 things to look for LSU football opponents in 2026. It's an interesting year for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide. We'll talk about that at 2 o'clock. It's going to be a draft day. Sharif Ishak is here in 90 minutes. Talk a little bit about the Pels and maybe a thumbnail or two on the New Orleans Saints. So no shortage of talking points. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
College baseball's got a new champion. LSU relinquished the crown last night. Oklahoma is the 2026 College World Series champion. I'll start with my stuff if we want to start there. I think there are far bigger fish to fry, but I did. I said in the Super Regional round, I said in the beginning of the College World Series, and I said in the National Final that I just wasn't quite sold on Oklahoma based on what I saw for 56 games. I was sold what I saw for the Super Regional, and I was certainly sold with tremendous play in Omaha. I just wasn't convinced they were going to get all the way to the finish line because I saw a lot of Oklahoma for 56, 57 games if you count the SC tournament, and just wasn't very impressed. But here's the deal. This is college baseball. And while I did not come around on Oklahoma until they hoisted the trophy, I've always told you that this is my favorite sport. And I've always told you the reason it's my favorite sport is because 3 bad weeks don't define you. 4 bad weeks don't define you. Getting swept doesn't define you. A bad conference start doesn't define you. You got to do enough to get in the dance. And then you've got to play your best baseball. And without a shadow of a doubt, Oklahoma played tremendous baseball. In the regional, after they lost to Georgia Tech, coming back twice to beat a really good Georgia Tech team, going up to the Super Regional and just whitewashing Kansas in its own ballpark, and then going to Omaha and sweeping through an all-SEC bracket and beating a very game North Carolina team in the process. You saw Camden Johnson at third base making exceptional defensive plays. You saw a brilliant throw-in from right field to cut down a third out and stop a run from scoring. You saw the offensive capabilities. Dayton LeChance hitting home runs. Branch got on the act late last night. I'd gone to bed by that point, but they were absolutely the hottest team playing the best baseball in Omaha, and that is the beauty of this sport. So yeah, like Crow, serve it up. I'll eat it by the truckload. Give me a shovel. I can't eat it fast enough. They proved me dead wrong every single step of the way. I think there were better teams in the country than Oklahoma this season. There were no better teams when they got to June. They played the best. They went through Georgia Tech, who went 25-5 in the ACC and won that tournament. They went through them in Atlanta. They went to Lawrence, beat the Big 12 champs soundly. That Super Regional was 21-3, a football score. And they got into an all-SEC bracket in Omaha, and they beat the best team in the country in Georgia. You play 14 regular season weekends. Georgia won 13 of them. They won the SEC tournament. They won their regional. They won their super. That's 15 out of 16 weeks. They were the victor out of a weekend, and Oklahoma stared them right between the eyes twice in Omaha and beat them. They were the best team, the deserving team at the end. I just didn't see it 56 games, but that's the beauty of the sport. Let me put this into perspective for you. Oklahoma finished 11th in the SEC this year. You know that. They were 14-16. They were 11th in the league. They won 4 of their 10 conference weekends. I told you from this very chair, I liked LSU's game 1 draw in the SEC tournament because I didn't think Oklahoma was that good. And guess what? LSU beat them. That game didn't matter for Oklahoma. I told you that too. They were in. They weren't going to be a host. They were fine. The RPI was good. They're in. They didn't have anything to play for on that Tuesday in Hoover. But I didn't think they were that good, and LSU beat them soundly. But this is a team that finished 11th place through 30 conference games. I'll just let you know who finished 11th in football this past fall. You all watch SEC football. You've got a feel for how teams performed. 11th place in the Southeastern Conference in football this year was shared by 2 programs, the Florida Gators and the Kentucky Wildcats. For their 11th place finish in football this year, they paid Billy Napier and Mark Stoops $59.4 million to get the hell out. That's what 11th place got you in football this year. $60 million in buyouts. What did that get you in basketball this year? Well, Oklahoma, coincidentally, was one of the teams that tied for 11th in the SEC in basketball. They accepted a bid into something called College Basketball Crown, which is beneath the NIT. I'd never heard of it. I found out about it today when I looked it up. I just went to scsports.com. Who finished 11th? Then I went to their schedule. Did they play in the NIT? What'd they do? Nope. They went to the College Basketball Crown. I never heard of it. They tied Auburn, who finished 11th in the SEC this year. You may know this. I didn't. Auburn won the NIT this year. They're 69th best team in the country, I guess. I didn't even know they won the NIT. That shows how important that is. So the 11th place finishers in football fired their coaches for $60 million. The 11th place finishers in basketball got into the NIT and the College Basketball Crown. The baseball team won the national title. Now, you could suggest that's not the most equitable way to decide a champion, and I don't disagree with you. When you win a college football national title, you have to start in August and finish the season and really never let up. You have to earn it in football. You can get beat once. You can let your foot off the gas once, maybe twice. But in Vanderbilt's case, they didn't get in with 2 losses. You've got to be great all year. Is that the best way to crown a champion? Probably. But in this sport, why I love it so much is because you get a chance. And baseball offers the most variability in winning between the better teams and the worst teams. In baseball, LSU every single year, national championship or 9-21 in the league, every single year, Nichols or Northwestern or McNeese is going to beat them every year. In basketball, it almost never happens. LSU went like 30 years between losing to in-state teams before Nichols beat them. Anatoly Bose and Cody Worsham were on that team. But that doesn't ever happen in football. I could ask this question. You're driving around right now. I've asked this at trivia, which is the reason I know it. I looked it up. Who was the last in-state team to beat LSU in football? Most of you probably don't know. Some do, but most of you probably don't know. No idea. It was Tulane. Tulane beat LSU a long time ago, but that's the last time LSU lost an in-state game. Variability in baseball is greater. That's why the major leagues play 162 games to figure it out. Can't do it in 30. And so you just got to get in and play. And I will take this Oklahoma team and that Ole Miss team from 2022. You're talking about 2 teams in the very, very recent past. 2 of the last 6 champions have been 14 and 16 in the league. So here's what you're going to get from me moving forward. I'm just going to tell you. I'm not going to throw a fit when LSU loses some conference baseball games. As long as I think they have good players, I'm always going to think they've got a shot to figure it out. Now, sometimes, very rarely, what we just watched will happen, and they never figured it out. They were never good enough. But that team in 2024, that started 3-12, they kind of figured it out. And that North Carolina team they lost to was really good, and they were 3-gauge jump outs away from getting out of that thing. So it's just something I'm going to file away for a later time. The teams in the SEC are so much better than the teams in the rest of the country when you go 1-12. They just are. Absolutely, North Carolina could have competed in the SEC this year. Absolutely, UCLA could have competed in the SEC this year. Absolutely, there are teams throughout the country at the top end of some of the better leagues that can play in the SEC. Their conference records wouldn't be good, but they could play. It's not as if the 10th best team in the SEC is better than all the other conference champions all year long. But the league is so much better because of the investment and the talent level that this is possible annually. The 11th best team in the ACC this year was Louisville. They went 13-17 in the ACC. They were 3 games above 500. They lost 2 out of 3 to Michigan State, and they were swept in Arlington in their pre-conference. They won 3 ACC weekends. They were bad. 11th place in the Big Ten this year, in the ACC also was Stanford. They lost pre-conference weekends to Fresno State and Fullerton, went 13-17. They were bad. Kansas State was 11th in the Big 12. They lost more games at home than they won. They were 3-7 in league weekends in the Big 12. They were bad. In the SEC, the 11th place team is not that bad. And this Oklahoma team came to the box in March. And Cam Johnson started game 1 on a Thursday. He made 1 appearance in the NCAA tournament and didn't get an out against Georgia Tech. LJ Mercurius was basically their ace. He pitched in game 2s, and he became a bullpen guy. They let 3 freshmen take the reins, and they just found lightning in a bottle on offense. So to relate this back home, this sport just allows you to find something at some point. So it's just going to take a lot for me to throw in the towel on an LSU baseball team. Because this is not just one hill. This Fresno State is not going to happen again anytime soon. A 4 seed that shows up and wins the national championship. That was a freak occurrence. The number 11 team in the SEC, the number 8 team in the SEC, the number 6 team in the SEC making a push in Omaha and winning the national championship is not a freak occurrence. That Ole Miss team in 2022 was at one point ranked 1st in the country. This Oklahoma team dominated week 1 in Arlington and showed what it could be. But they had a bad go at the end of the season and lost 4 weekends in a row. I like the intrigue that college baseball provides, even teams that are struggling. And last night, you saw it pay off again in the same way you saw it pay off for Ole Miss. LSU didn't take this route to a championship, neither did Tennessee. But 2 teams in the last 6 years have done it, and it can happen again. So if you're an LSU fan and LSU drops 2 weekends in a row, and it looks like they have real issues at the back end of the rotation, they can't find a closer, just let it happen. Just let it happen. Let it play out. Let a team evolve. Because Skip Johnson's Oklahoma team evolved, and it's no fluke here. By the way, that Oklahoma team, that Ole Miss team that won the championship, they beat Oklahoma in the final. This is not uncharted waters for Skip Johnson. They weren't the best team for 14 weeks of the regular season. They weren't even close. They weren't even a top 10 team in the Southeastern Conference. By the time it mattered and it's time to turn on the lights and go play, they out-homered Georgia Tech. They bludgeoned Kansas. They stared Georgia right between the eyes and knocked them out, and they had a worthy opponent in North Carolina. And North Carolina threw their best 2 bullpen bullets at them in the early innings last night, and Oklahoma just beat them. Great to watch. Great to watch for Oklahoma. Congrats to the Sooners, an absolutely worthy national champion for their postseason performance, and a testament to the variability and the hope that college baseball offers. I loved it. I thought it was a great story, and I was satisfied with the champ. I thought it was an awesome, awesome postseason. I never want to watch one again like that with LSU on the sideline, but I did enjoy that one. And I didn't make it to the end last night because it was 9-1, and I went, well, I'm getting up at 5, might as well go to bed. But it was a heck of a run for the Oklahoma Sooners, so congrats to Skip Johnson and the crew. We're off and running here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Events Networks Cloud IT Management. Come back with more next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com. SwingEasyGCBR.com. Go by and see him. Segan at Perkins. It's just great technology. I was so impressed when we went in there for the first time at Swing Easy. We did that streaming event that I did. And based on the metrics of the golf ball, you got the accurate response on the simulator on the green. I was playing the 7th hole at Pebble Beach, which is a 95-yard par 3, and I was hitting a little wedge. And when I hit a Titleist Pro V1 that we had, and it spun a lot, it would hit the green and check up. Whenever I had this old beat-up top flight that was in there, and I had to hit it, it did not back up. It trundled out. That's the kind of accuracy you get on a simulator. If you've never tried a golf simulator before, Go by and see them. It's not 100 degrees in your private bay. It's not raining. The grass is not dead. It doesn't take 5 hours to play a round of golf. It's just a great opportunity to go in a climate-controlled environment, use some great technology, and enjoy the game of golf. It's Swing Easy Golf Club. They're right there on Seagan at Perkins. You can find them online at swingeasygcbr.com. Become a member. You can also get a corporate membership if you'd like. Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Always remind you every single day about my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're online at fabrychevrolet.com. Bring your opening drive every single day. Go by and see them. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The Fabry family has been at it in this town for 35 years. 35 years. And you don't do that unless you're doing things the right way. And the reason they've been successful and been able to stick around like they have is because they treat their customers wonderfully. If you go by and see them, Highway 61 in St. Francisville, you'll notice the difference. You'll feel that customer service experience. Most folks have had questionable experiences on car lots, right? Feel like the salesperson's being a little bit pushy, feel like maybe you're being taken advantage of, feel like there's just a little bit of pressure being applied. That's just never going to happen at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So if you want a wonderful buying experience, great service after the sale, by the way, great deals and amazing inventory, Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to see you on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Check out the entire inventory online at fabrychevrolet.com. You can see the new vehicles. You can see the pre-owned vehicles. It's truck month there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So go by and see them. Again, Highway 61 in St. Francisville or online at fabrychevrolet.com. There's a story on The Athletic that I was going through this morning talking about the moves that every Power 4 conference team made in the offseason, and it's going through and singling out the best move every Power 4 team made in the offseason. And as I tell you all the time, when I read those headlines this time of year, I give my answer, and then I go ahead and see what the piece says. And this was a tough one for me to sit at my desk and go, okay, what move are we talking about here? Because LSU in the offseason changed athletic directors, changed head coach, changed general manager, brought in an offensive coordinator, a quarterback. Oh, by the way, more than 40 other transfers that came in. Like, there are significant moves that were made in the LSU football program. There's almost nothing that's the same. Like, Trey Green's still there. Whit Weeks is still there. Braylon Moore's playing center. You got DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland out there, but like most everything has changed. So what could you possibly nail down as number one? And I just kind of defaulted. I was trying to be creative, but I just kind of defaulted to, well, I guess it's hiring Lane Kiffin. That's the move, right? That's got to be the move. And that was not the move. It was not Sam Leavitt. It was not Jordan Seaton. The move that the Athletic said was the best that LSU made in the offseason was retaining defensive coordinator Blake Baker. I'll read from the piece. Said the Tigers spent boatloads of money to bring in Lane Kiffin and a colorful cast of assistant coaches, including Ed Ogeron, and then millions more to upgrade their roster via the portal. You can make the case that the best thing Kiffin did was keep the defensive coordinator. Baker turned the LSU defense into a reliable unit after it had lost its way, and maintaining the same system will provide needed continuity. That makes sense. And it got me thinking. And this is something we'll get into in August. And I don't want this to come across as negative at all. I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on it. I'm fully aware of what Blake Baker took over. Watching that 2023 team attempt to play defense was one of the most frustrating things I've ever witnessed as an LSU onlooker. Call it beat writer, call it fan, call it student. Watching LSU play, that defense is among the most frustrating things I've ever seen. And I watched Les Miles' teams try to throw the football. I've watched atrocious basketball teams try to navigate the SEC schedule. I've watched baseball teams slump. I've watched poor defense. I've watched some bad stuff. That defense was abysmal, and I would not argue in any other way. You had one of the best offenses in the history of college football, and you couldn't win games because your defense was that bad. And so Baker took that over, and they got better his first year. He took over just an absolute disaster, and they got better. And last year was year 2, which would be like a progression 10 years ago. But really, it's not, because you overhaul so many positions with the transfer portal that it's not like you're really building a defense. You're installing a culture that oftentimes is in and out the door in 10 months. There are guys that stick around. Devon Keys has stuck around. Whit Weeks has stuck around. PJ Woodland stuck around. Deshaun Spears has stuck around. On last year's team, Jacoby and Guillory had stuck around. There have been some guys that have stuck around, but it's a lot of new guys that have come in, right? So it's not like you're really building. It's just like, what defense do you put out there this year? Okay, what defense you put out there that year? And I looked at the raw numbers. I'll get into what I watched with my eyes, but I'll get into the raw numbers. In the SEC last year, LSU's scoring defense was 5th in the league. That's good. Against the run, they were 7th. Against the pass, they were 6th. That's okay. And in total defense, they were 6th. So you're looking at between 5th and 7th, scoring, total, pass, run. That's balanced. That's fairly effective. I would not go as far as to call it dominant. And Baker oftentimes talks about havoc and creating negative plays. And LSU didn't do a ton of that. LSU was 11th in terms of tackles for loss on the season. If you look at tackles for loss per game, LSU is 13th in a 16-team league in that statistic. And I thought LSU was really going to do a good job of sacking the quarterback last year, and LSU was 12th in that metric. So what Blake Baker has done, statistically speaking, is shore things up. They don't allow as many huge plays. They weren't gashed on the ground. They weren't susceptible through the air. They did a decent job of keeping teams within striking distance and points. There were just a few instances where they didn't really show up. I did not think LSU's defense played well in Oxford. Now, the good news is the two guys that masterminded that offense are on LSU's team this year. But you consider that Ole Miss ran up a gaudy point total on LSU, and you forced a turnover inside the 1-yard line. If you don't remember, Ole Miss threw a pass down inside the 1, and the ball got knocked free for a fumble, and LSU got on it. So, they got no points out of getting down inside the 1-yard line, and you still gave up a lot of points that day. You had no answer whatsoever for Vanderbilt in the second half. None. Just absolute carvature. Whenever Vanderbilt wanted it, whatever they wanted, they got it. Just absolutely carved. And, of course, the A&M game got completely out of hand. Now, aside from those games, I thought LSU was decent. I thought that there were games where they looked better than others. Like Florida's anemic offense came in and you picked off 5 passes in that game. That was great. But that was a bad offense. And you took advantage of that. I thought they were decent against Oklahoma, who was a bad offense. Kept yourself in that game with no offensive help. I thought you were pretty good against Alabama. But it never felt to me, outside of Clemson and Florida, that LSU was dominating on defense. And that's the standard you'd like to get to, right? Like, you were good against South Carolina. They only scored 10. You were okay against Arkansas. They scored 22. But A&M scored 49 with a punt return. And Vanderbilt scored 31. And Ole Miss went up and down the field. It was good. It wasn't dominant. And so my hope is that this group borders on dominant. I like Blake Baker in that job. I like 2 things about him. One, he's improved LSU greatly defensively. No question about that. And 2, and this is something I gather from the player interviews that we do, the players love playing for him. They love him. The linebackers, the safeties, it's the energy that he brings, it permeates through the entire defensive unit. I'm just looking for a little bit more consistent play. That Ole Miss game, that A&M game, that Vanderbilt game, those stick with me. And a lot of that has to do with mobile quarterback. Chambliss can move. Pavia can move. Reed can move. When you had a stationary guy back there like Ty Simpson, you did okay. Stationary-ish guy back there like Mateer was at that point, okay. But I want to see dominance. That's the challenge. He's accomplished mission one. Mission one was go from an embarrassment to rock solid. And I thought LSU was pretty solid. Now, how do you get inside the top 3 in the SEC? How do you get inside the top 10 in the country? That's the next step for Blake Baker. I am comfortable suggesting he's got a real chance to do that. But he hasn't done it quite yet at LSU in 2 seasons. Would have been a tough ask in year 1 after as bad as they were in 23. But that's the next step for Blake Baker to pay off what they're calling at The Athletic the best move that LSU made in the postseason. I was thrilled Blake Baker stayed. Absolutely. Did not want to see him go to Tulane and have to go back into the well and try to hire another defensive coordinator. And I'm thrilled that it sounds like he's going to be here for a few more years unless something goes really, really right in LSU defense and he gets hired by a big boy school. Because that's what he wants to do next. But they're not quite there yet. Maybe this is the year. We'd like that. All right, let's talk to Glen West about the Tigers when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power. GoTrosOnline.com. GoTrosOnline.com. June is still here, y'all. It is still June, and that means unbelievable savings are still right there at your fingertips if you go by and see them at GoTro's Outdoor Power. You go by and see them this week, you can get $200 off the Raptor Series. You can get $500 off the Fast Track Series. And those Hustler commercial mowers up to $1,500 off. If you need a new zero-turn mower to manage that property, whether it's your home or something else, you can go get it at GoTro's Outdoor Power. They got the largest Hustler inventory in the state, largest parts inventory in the state. They were the National Hustler Deal of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. It is family-owned and operated, no question about that. And that's the customer service you're going to get from GoTro's. Not small. One of the bigger ones in the country, in the state. Go by and see them, Airline in Baton Rouge or in Gonzales. It's GoTro's Outdoor Power. They're online at GoTrosOnline.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Every Tuesday we talk to Glen West on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. He's senior writer over there at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team. He joins us now. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. What do you make of Oklahoma winning the national championship? You watched them play in person.
Yeah, I watched them play. I watched Casey Evans shut him out for 7 1/3 innings and thought this dude is a bona fide ace and just one of the best pitchers in the country. And I believe LSU took 3 out of 3 from the Sooners in that.
No,
weekend.
they did not.
So,
Oklahoma won the last 2.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
Okay. They just took the first game.
Yep.
Then. All right. But yeah, no. Look, I think Oklahoma certainly it just reinforces the idea that in college baseball anything can happen. Anybody can get hot at the right time, and Oklahoma certainly did that. I think it's a very impressive group and one that I would imagine stays pretty intact next year. I think they have a pretty young roster, and so that's another big-time power program that's coming up the pike here. And so the SEC is not getting any easier, which is why I think you've seen LSU go out and aggressively attack the portal over the last several weeks and hopefully rebuild this team in a way that can positively affect this program going forward in 2027.
It's been a quiet week or so for LSU in the transfer portal. Do you expect that there are some announcements coming? Do you think that LSU's in a waiting game? How do you feel about where they stand now?
Yeah, I think maybe there's another announcement coming on the pitching side. Maybe they'll add another player or two there. But they did a good job last week. They got Diego Velasquez last week. That was another pitching addition for them. And so I think they're winding down their portal process. To be honest with you, I think they've done really good work in there. Adding 4 or 5 really interesting starters on the certainly on the position player side, but also potentially on the mound with a guy like Landon Hood, who's going to come in and compete for major playing time. So I think that they've done really good work there in the portal, and I think just a lot of the focus now is going to be just what they can get through this high school draft class, because I do think that whether it's the outfield, the pitching staff, there's a lot of really talented players in this class that LSU, I think, feels like they have a shot at getting through the draft. So I know the coaching staff has been, on the road meeting with a lot of those players really for the last, several weeks and months. And so that'll be very interesting, though, to watch kind of what how these next couple weeks play out in that respect. And I think the MLB Combine is going on right now, too, so that could give us some more clarity here on some of those guys that are maybe participating in that and kind of where their draft stock is right now.
Yeah, a lot of guys in the signing class are out in Arizona right now participating in the Combine, and a couple of them have been showstoppers thus far, which is not great news for the folks here in Baton Rouge. We'll see how that all shakes out next month. I'm also curious, just big picture, your thoughts on Will Wade's basketball roster. I dove into that earlier this week, and I've got 11 names that I kind of feel okay about. That's a little bit short of a full roster. Do you sense that they're kind of done adding and just now waiting to get guys eligible? Or, where do you think they are in that process? Will Wade said August, and it's still June, so it's not like I'm sounding any alarms here, but I'm looking from the outside going, well, they're not quite there.
Yeah, no, they're not quite there yet. I think they've announced 4 of their guys officially. I think they've added a freshman within the last week, too. That name is escaping me at the moment, but that's another, I think, kind of end-of-the-bench guy that you bring in to develop and see what he can become over time. But I think in terms of new additions to the program, you're looking at probably end-of-bench guys at this point. I think really a lot of the main focus is going to be on just getting these guys eligible and over to Baton Rouge from overseas. And so I think that's where a lot of the focus is right now. And, it's going to be interesting, too, here. The NCAA, I think just about 20 minutes ago, announced they're, putting this 5-for-5 eligibility ruling in place here for this upcoming academic year. And so I will be curious to see kind of maybe how that affects, not even just basketball, but certainly football and baseball with their thinking in terms of how they bring in players and how they get guys eligible and things of that nature.
Let's talk a little football. Glen West is our guest, senior writer over there with the Bengal Tiger, part of the team on 3 with Shay Dixon and the crew. Do an awesome job for your football recruiting and your team coverage as well, which Glenn is all over there for them. You started some series looking at LSU's football roster over there, looking at some guys potentially under the radar, some multi-year players that you like. Kind of where's your mind wandering as we get towards the end of June here?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just kind of looking at this roster now and kind of taking a look ahead to 2026. And the football season is going to be right around the corner here. So I've just kind of been doing my breakdowns of positions and just interesting names, guys that maybe we, I don't want to say have overlooked, but maybe just not have gotten the big shine that some of the big other additions have been getting here this off season. So there were 2 that I kind of highlighted this morning. One was Alou Ba, the offensive lineman that they're getting from Maryland, who's a multi-year starter in the Big Ten, somebody that I think, has pretty much been the plug-and-play right guard for LSU going back to the spring. And so, how he develops and certainly, especially in the run game, I think is going to be very interesting for him in terms of maintaining his spot there. And then the other one is T.J. Daugherty, the linebacker they got from Ole Miss, a 2-year starter in the SEC. You need some of these guys in here that have multiple years of experience and who have also gone through the process of transferring to a school and immediately fitting into that next place. Like Daugherty transferred in, I believe, from Georgia to Ole Miss and was an immediate 2-year starter. And then Ba also transferred from Georgia to Maryland and was an immediate 2-year starter there as well. So, these guys have been well-traveled already in their careers and have been able to fit into their new systems pretty quickly. So those are kind of just 2 of the guys that I think are going to be big pieces to this roster in 2026 and guys that they're going to lean into on both sides of the ball.
What are your thoughts on Blake Baker's grade for last year? I talked about it in my second segment today because it was something The Athletic pointed out as one of the biggest moves that LSU made in the offseason was keeping him around. How do you feel about the work that he did last year in his second year back with the program?
Yeah, I think it was another step of growth for him, and I think they made it to a place where they were a top 25 group in terms of yards allowed. They were, I think, top 20 or top 15 in scoring from a defensive perspective as well. That Florida game really kind of sticks out in my mind. They had a pretty good game plan in year 2 against Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. Did a good job against those guys. So I think that there were some signs of growth, but you could also tell that maybe there were some areas that they could continue to improve defensively. And so going out and getting, Principal Uman Neoen, for example, I don't think they've had a pass rusher quite like him under Blake Baker's tenure yet. And so what he's going to be able to do to maybe open up some things for this defense is going to be really interesting to watch. And then obviously Ty Benfield's a really good player. Obviously getting Weeks back and healthy is going to be major for this defense as well. And I'm really interested with this freshman group. These defensive linemen in particular. Whether it's Lamar Brown, Richard Anderson, Deuce Gerald, all these guys I think have an opportunity or will get an opportunity to play some really meaningful football this year. So I think that development process and just how they fit into Blake Baker's scheme is going to be very important too. So I'm very excited, very bullish on Blake Baker. Getting him back for year 3 I think was a big deal, and I think they're going to really hit the ground running defensively and try to take another step forward this year.
Glenn, we appreciate the time.
All right, thanks, Hunt.
Glenn West over there at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team, with us on Tuesdays. I want to remind you about Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. It is storm season. If you want to get that Generac home standby generator installed before the storm rolls through, make that phone call to my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running the show there for 40 years. 40 years. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or in the Gonzales location, you're talking about 225-300-9389. A local team that will install that generator, a local team that will monitor that generator, and a local team that will come out and do the maintenance work on that generator to make sure when your power goes out, your generator springs to life. That's the promise they make you at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Check them out online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com. I mentioned the MLB Draft Combine that's going on over in Phoenix this week. And there's one name that is putting on a show, and that's Lawrence Naraki. We have not gotten into LSU's baseball signing class at this point. I'm not going to do it today either. That's a July conversation right before the draft. But Naraki is one of the better left-handed pitching prospects in the country. Joe Doyle, who is there at the Combine, thinks he's a potential $2 million left-handed arm, which is a high draft pick, is in the top 3 rounds. But he also hit today at the Combine. He hit like 3 balls, 109 miles an hour, was launching balls with a wooden bat way out of the ballpark at what used to be Bank One Ballpark. I have no idea what the ballpark is called now. Maybe Chase Field. Either way, doesn't matter. It's a big yard, and he's bashing balls out of it, and he throws really hard left-handed. I don't think, as I tweeted out earlier today, that Lucas Naraki is going to be taking a lot of classes in Lockett Hall. I don't think he's going to be spending a lot of time in the Cox Center. I don't think he's going to be spending a lot of time at Alec Box Stadium. That's one of the guys that I do not think LSU is going to be able to keep away from the MLB money, but he is putting on a show. And if you go check my Twitter out, my last tweet is about him, and you can see the video of him from the left side just absolutely nuking balls at the ballpark in Phoenix. That's a guy who's going to sign for a lot of cash here pretty quickly. So just a thought on the MLB draft. When we come back, not a local story. There is a college baseball line to it. But Rafael Devers did something last night that I just can't believe. And I'll tell you what that is to close out hour 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, online at highlandig.com. Highlandig.com is that website. Jonathan Carver and his team are just great to work with, and they know that benefits are tough right now. If you're a business owner, you're a CFO, you're in charge of your organization's healthcare plan, it's intimidating because the rates continue to go up, and just feels like it's detrimental to your bottom line. I'm not promising you that the Highland Insurance Group is a silver bullet for you, but what I can promise you is that they'd love to work with you and love to give you a second option to see if they can help you with your healthcare, with your dental, with your vision, with the benefits that help you attract talent and help you keep talent within your organization. So if you've had a couple of bad renewals, or you've got one coming up that you're dreading, or you just haven't heard from your rep on that side of things and want a second opinion, the Howard Insurance Group, they obviously do property and casualty. I tell you about that all the time, but they do benefits as well. So if you want a second opinion, contact the Howard Insurance Group. They're based here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. They're online at highlandig.com. It's the Howard Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Our Tuesday show is always brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Cybersecurity is a scary deal because so few of us know a lot about it, but the risks are significant. If you've got employees that could be clicking on the wrong email here or there, or you've got a point of sale system that doesn't have the proper insurance or monitoring, and you may have a significant IT risk that you're not even aware of. There could be an issue that you're not even aware of, and those can get really, really expensive really, really quickly if something were to go wrong. That's where Immense comes in. If you work with Immense, you understand that they're going to be monitoring your systems 24/7. They're going to be proactively protecting you from these types of things and then able to detect things that you may not be able to as you're just conducting your business. So if you want someone from an IT perspective to protect your business, let Immense come in and do it for you. Immense is so confident in their abilities, confident in their relationships with their clients, that they don't put you under contract for 2 years or 1 year. They're month to month. If you feel like your IT department is overworked, or you feel like there may be risks that you're unaware of, sit down and talk to Immense. They're online at immense.net, that's immense.net. All right, I have 2 baseball stories that I'm struggling with today, to be quite honest. One is not that big a deal. We'll talk about that, and then we'll get to Rafael Devers, which I think is ridiculous. Jazz Chisholm was playing second base last night with a sucker in his mouth. Like, the full deal. Stick coming out, the whole thing. Just playing second base like my kid when he leaves the doctor's office with a sucker in his mouth.
Is that the first time you ever seen something like that?
I mean, maybe at a T-ball game.
Okay.
Maybe the Bombers over at Traction this year.
I've never heard that or seen that before. Like, that's how.
I mean, they got gum. They got sunflower seeds. You see a sucker with the stick in a big league game?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
but
crazy.
I mean, whatever. Just throw that out. This is way worse. Rafael Devers did something last night that, to me, might drive Tony Vitello back to college baseball, if we're being honest.
Oh, really?
Devers is the third baseman for the Giants. Now, why is he the third baseman for the Giants? Well, because he played third base for the Red Sox, who signed Alex Bregman and told him to either be a DH or go play second base, and he got pouty and wouldn't participate with the team and forced them to trade him because he wanted to play third base or he wasn't going to play at all. Ridiculous move in Boston, but they shipped him out of town.
Bad locker room guy.
Well, how about last night? Did you see this?
No.
The Giants are trailing in the 9th inning, 2-1.
Okay.
Devers walks.
Okay.
Tony Vitello yells down the dugout, "Hey, Hall, go run for him." So he pops out of the dugout, and Devers is wagging his finger, no, from first base. Well, this pitch runner runs out like 15 feet from the dugout, and then kind of looks back at the dugout while Devers is saying no, and then he gets even closer, and Devers won't leave the bag. He's like, "No, you're not running for me." And now the pinch runner is like, "Well, what the hell do you want me to do? I'm the pinch running bench guy. This guy's been on all-star teams before, and he's telling me to go back to the dugout. What am I supposed to do?" And finally, Devers walked off the base, pouted in the dugout, threw his helmet down, and bitched about it in a one-run game. You know how many stolen bases Rafael Devers has for the San Francisco Giants? He's now played 167 games with them. None. He's never attempted one. He's 6 feet tall, 235 pounds. He doesn't run very well. They're trailing by 1 run. They're trying to put some speed on the bases. This has been happening in baseball for 120 years, and he's too good for that. I understand when players hurt the team for finances. If you hold out or you're in a negotiation, you're trying to deal with your money. When you start getting in the way of actually winning because your ego will not allow you to be pinch runs for, then get off my team.
Yeah.
Get off the team.
100%.
This blows my mind that he's not interested in winning. He's interested in Rafael Devers playing in this spot. You're slow. You don't steal bases. We got to score a run. If you haven't noticed, our offense kind of sucks. We might need to steal a bag here and get lucky on a blooper and get a guy home, and you might not score. I'm trying to win. We're in last. I would be so upset if I was Tony Vitello.
As he should. And I heard Devers not even hitting that well this year either.
Let's look at the numbers. He leads the NL in doubles with 23.
Okay.
He's hitting .238 with a .302 on base, which is not very good. His OPS is .735. It's not a great year. He's got 11 homers. He's been fine. He's a half a win player right now through half a season. He's looking at a 1 WAR season, which is barely over league average.
That's not what you traded for.
No, his OPS plus is 108, league average is 100. So
that's not what you traded for.
He's a fine player, but he's slow. And we're trying to pinch run. We're trying to win the game. I understand pitchers that don't want the ball taken from them. I get it. This is running, and you're not good at it. So this is not competitive. This is showing up. Your teammate is trying to pinch run. Your manager, who's in his first year trying to run the team, and your team is awful, and you're not helping by just being a complete crybaby. I have no time and no patience for that whatsoever. That is utterly ridiculous for a professional athlete to act like that. And if it was just a one-time thing, okay, fine. This is now just a pattern that he's just a jerk. And I wouldn't have him on my team under any circumstance.
Nah.
Period.
He just seems like a bad locker room guy at this point. Like, that's nasty.
We're pinch running. Get off the field. That's how that ought to go. So that's it for hour number 1 here in this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to remind y'all, we will be at Sports Trivia tonight at Court to Table. It's always a fun time. We've got a great crowd that's been coming out. It's been competitive. Great food there. Great drinks there. You can win gift cards. Got the World Cup on TV. NBA Draft will be on TV tonight, so it'll be a great environment. Come on out. Bring a team or come by yourself. It's right there on Burbank. We started about 8 o'clock. About 5 minutes after 8 is probably a safer bet. And then I'll have you out of there by 9:20 every single Tuesday, so not an all-night deal. Hope to see y'all out tonight at Court to Table on Burbank. We'll pause for national headlines and Sports Center. We'll talk some Alabama Crimson Tide next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
But first, let's tell you about Ochsner. They've been reminding you all month long, about the incredible things they've got going on over at Ochsner. If you are an athlete or you're just trying to stay active, Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute can help keep you moving. They can get you moving as well. You've got access to the highest levels of specialized care. You've got nationally renowned expertise, the latest equipment, and you've got modern facilities, and that includes the convenient walk-in orthopedic clinic at Elite Training Complex, the Burbank location, when you need care fast. So if you've got a sprain, if you've got a strain, if you've got a minor dislocation, maybe even an ACL tear, sudden ongoing non-spine-related musculoskeletal pain, any of that, you can walk into Elite Training Complex on Burbank without an appointment. They are happy to see you. They've got on-site x-rays, and they can treat those minor injuries for you. So you'll drive by, you'll see Elite. They got the big football field with the goalposts out there. You can't miss it, and you can walk in. It's Ochsner, online at ochsner.org/BRortho.